Um, we decided what we're going to do um, as far as these next few videos. Anyways, I think I'm excited about it. I think you're excited about it.
I am.
Yeah,
I think it's a very good place to
it's
start.
going to be good. Um, so we're going to be going over. Uh, we're going to go over some of the children's stories that we learned in Bible school or Sunday school as kids.
Yeah, basic stories that maybe your mom or grandma might have told you sitting by, or maybe an old man by the fire. Or
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people have heard these stories um, as kids, and then we kind of never really look at them again because we already know it, right? So we don't really look at it.
yeah, why go back and research something
Yeah,
you already know?
yeah. So and I think a lot of people kind of have that outlook on it, and I think that there's a lot to learn from some of these stories, even as adults, and they're not just kid stories. Um,
No, we hear them as kid stories, but if we go back and we really research it and we find out there's a lot of detail in these kid stories that a lot of people never knew.
yeah,
And in fact, I hate to say it as an adult, I used to teach these things in Sunday school, and I'd use the little books that the church provides, and a lot of times I didn't go back and research all of it, and I missed a lot. And I have to apologize to a lot of the kids and youth that I trying to teach to. I didn't get the whole story behind, but a lot of times in Sunday school, if you was anything like we were, you had like 30, 45 minutes to get that whole story in, and sometimes it takes more than that.
yeah. So I think today we're going to be going over David and Goliath. I think that's a good place to start because
It's a really good place.
most people know the story of David and Goliath. Even if you're not a Christian, if you weren't raised Christian, most people still know the story of David and Goliath, and it's a good one. And there's a lot more to it. In fact, there's going to be a lot of reading in this episode, so please bear with me. In fact, though, we have to go all the way back to uh, Samuel. Um, so yeah, we have to go all the way back to Samuel, um, and the first king of Israel. Anyway, so we're going to be reading. We're going to start reading, and I'm going to be jumping around a little bit. I've got my notes here. There's not a lot of notes here, but I've got some notes here as far as where I want to be. But there's going to be some jumping around, so we're going to start in 1 Samuel chapter 8.
Chapter 8.
Yeah, chapter 8.
We're going way back. You can tell we're all together here.
Yeah, this was kind of the last.
We talked about it. We kind of talked about it, but we really didn't get into it a whole lot.
Yeah.
Uh,
So.
Okay, chapter 8.
So we're going to be in chapter 8. And this is going to be talking about Israel wanting a king. Now, it came about when Samuel was old that
Take 2.
Now it came about when Samuel was old that he appointed his sons as judges over Israel. The name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second, Abiah. I don't know how to say so.
I can't pronounce his name.
Abiah. They were judging in Beersheba. His sons, however, did not walk in his ways, but turned aside after dishonest gain. They took bribes and they perverted justice. Then all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah, and said to him, Behold, you have grown old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now appoint us a king to judge us like all the nations. But the matter was displeasing in the sight of Samuel when they said, Give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed to the Lord. Let me see. This microphone is. Let's see. So basically, it's just talking about the people of Israel are not happy with the way that um, they're not happy with the way that things are being. That, I cannot talk tonight. I guess they're not happy with the way that things are being done. You've got people in charge that are taking bribes and being dishonest, and it's just a bad. It's a bad. Uh, it's not good.
Yeah, nothing like that happened around today. So
No. Um, so Samuel goes to God. Um, let's see. And the Lord said to Samuel, "Listen to the voice of your people regarding all that they say to you, because they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me from being king over them. Like all the deeds which they have done since the day that I brought them from Egypt, even to this day, in that they have abandoned me and served other gods. So they are doing to you as well. Now then, listen to their voice. However, you shall warn them strongly and tell them of the practice of the king who will reign over them." So God says, okay, if they really want a king, then listen to them. But you're going to have to warn them that this is what is going to happen if they appoint a king to reign over them. So Samuel spoke all the words to the Lord. Take two again. So Samuel spoke all the words of the Lord to the people who had asked him for a king. And he said, "This will be the practice of the king who will reign over you. He will take your sons and put them in chariots for himself, and among his horsemen, and they will run before his chariots. He will appoint for himself commanders of thousands and commanders of fifties, and some to do his plowing and to gather in his harvest, and to make his weapons of war and equipment for his chariots. He will also take your daughters and use them as perfumers, cooks, bakers. He will take the best of your fields and your vineyards and your olive groves and give them to his servants. And he will take a tenth of your seed and your vineyards and give it to his high officials and his servants. He will also take your male servants and your female servants and your best young men and your donkeys and use them for his work. He will take a tenth of your flocks, and you yourselves will become his servants. Then you will cry out on that day because of your king whom you have chosen for yourselves, but the Lord will not answer on that day." So basically God is telling Israel that you can have a king if that's what you really want, but these are all the things that's going to happen. He's going to take 10%. He's going to take 10% or half. What was it? Half? No, a tenth. So he'll take a tenth of your fields, of your seeds, your vineyards. He's going to take your servants and use them for himself. He's going to take your sons and use them for war. He's going to take your daughters and use them to cook and bake and make perfume. He's going to take your olive groves, your servants. I mean, your flocks. He's gonna take all of these things, and then there's gonna be a day where you're gonna cry out because you don't want this king anymore. But I'm not gonna be there or I'm not gonna answer you because I'm telling you now, this is what's gonna happen. So basically, he's saying, this is what's gonna happen. You can either take a king or serve me. So it's either serve God or serve the king. Yet the people refused to listen to the voice of Samuel, and they said, "No, but there shall be a king over us, so that we also may be like all the nations, and our king may judge us and go out before us and fight our battles." So they still wanted this king, even though their lives are going to be completely changed. They're going to go from having things to having basically nothing and having to serve this king. Um, they still want a king. Now, honestly, if you think about it, it doesn't really sound that odd that they would want a king. They would want somebody to I mean, right?
They want a king, but God's trying, in my mind, and I see think things different. I think what he's trying to tell them here is if you want a human leader, then you're going to lose some of your worthy things or valuable things.
Absolutely, that's what he's telling them.
Hmm.
I said, absolutely, that's what he's telling them.
Right.
He's making them make a choice
He's trying to tell
between.
you, I'm your king, I'm your leader. You need to follow me.
Mhm.
But if this is what you want, and this is, I guess this is an example of free will.
Yeah.
God says, this is what you need to be doing, but if this is what you want, then okay, but you're going to pay for it.
Mhm.
You're going to lose your servants. You're going to lose your wives, your daughters. You're going to lose your fields, your grains, part of it, and so it was pretty much left up to them. And they made a choice. They wanted a king, somebody to rule them, to lead them. I mean, there's leaders and followers in this world, and they wanted to be followers. They wanted somebody to lead them. And I agree. In a lot of places, I mean, you need somebody to lead you and tell you what to do sometimes. But our main leader is God.
Yeah. So after this, Saul basically goes into search mode looking for a king, and God actually sends him a king, which we all know is Samuel. And now I'm not gonna go through that. Basically, God sends Samuel to Saul, and he's anointed as the king. God says that actually, if we look here at the chapter 9, verse 15. Now, a day before Saul's coming, the Lord had revealed this to Samuel, saying, about this time tomorrow, I will send you a man from the land of Benjamin, and you shall anoint him as ruler over my people of Israel, and he will save my people from the hand of the Philistines. For I considered my people, because their outcry has come to me. So he's saying, I'm going to send you this man, and he's going to be the king of my people of Israel, and he's going to save my people from the hand of the Philistines. So in this time, Israel was constantly at war with Philistines, or Philistines, however you want to say
it. Yeah, whichever way you want to say it. Tomato.
We're here to learn, but I'm not gonna ever say that my pronunciation of some of these words is gonna be right, or even close to right. Now, if we go to chapter 11, like I said, we're going to be jumping around here a little bit. If we go to chapter 11, this is talking about Saul defeating the Ammonites. And
this all leads up to David.
Yeah, all of it.
All this leads right up to David.
So, yeah, I guess let's just read.
A little bit of background on David.
Yeah, I guess we'll just read the whole thing.
The whole chapter.
Yeah, it's not very long.
No.
Now Nahash the Ammonite went up and besieged Jabesh Gilead. And all the men of Jabesh said to Nahash, make a covenant with us, and we will serve you. But Nahash the Ammonite said to them, I will make it with you on one condition, that I will gouge out the right eye of every one of you, and thereby I will inflict a disgrace on all Israel. So let's make a pact, but I'm gonna cut out the left eye or the right eye of every one of you, so that there will be a curse
Well, that's
on
not said it a
all
little
of
bit different
Israel.
from what you're saying, but yeah, it's the same thing. It says,
What Bible are you using?
I'm using the New Living.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Well, I would have used my other Bible. I thought you were studying out of the New American Standard.
well, I do, but I'm trying to get into this one a little bit too. So,
Okay.
I didn't know which one you were using tonight. So
The New American Standard.
Uh,
So they say the same
that's
thing.
like the same
just in a
thing. It's
different
worded a little bit different. Yeah.
So basically, he's saying,
Yeah.
let's see, chapter 11.
Yeah.
So that would have been verse 2. Would have been where he was talking about.
I must gouge out the. Well, I was I must gouge out every man's right eye, that I may thus bring, uh, whatever that word is, on all Israel. Iniquity. No, I can't read, so it's hard for me to pronounce some words. Anyway, we'll skip that. But it still says the right eye.
Right. To inflict a disgrace on all Israel.
Right.
So the elders of Jabesh said to him, "Allow us 7 days to send messengers throughout the territory of Israel. Then, if there is no one to save us, we will come out to you." Then the messengers came to Gibeah of Saul and spoke these words in the hearing of the people. And all the people raised their voices and went. Now behold, Saul was coming from the field behind the oxen, and Saul said, "What is the matter with the people that they weep?" So they reported to him the words of the men of Jabesh. Then the Spirit of God rushed upon Saul when he heard these words, and he became very angry. He then took a yoke of oxen and cut them into pieces, and sent them throughout the territory of Israel by the hand of messengers, saying, "Whoever does not come out after Saul and after Samuel, the same shall be done to his oxen." Then the dread of the Lord fell on the people, and they came out as one person. So basically, um, Saul is saying, "Look, we're going to go out in defiance of these people, and if you don't come out with us, then this is what's going to happen to your oxen." So what did they do? They all came out.
They all came out.
Let's see, where was I?
I kind of lost place with you. That's why I'm still reading a little bit. What verse were you on?
Verse 8.
That's where I'm at.
He counted them in Bezek, and the sons of Israel were 300,000, and the men of Judah 30,000. They said to the messengers who had come, "This is what you shall say to the men of Jabesh Gilead. Tomorrow, by the time the sun is hot, you will be saved." So the messengers went and told the men of Jabesh, and they rejoiced. Then the men of Jabesh said, "Tomorrow we will come out to you, and you may do to us whatever seems good to you." The next morning Saul put the people in 3 companies, and they came into the midst of the camp at the morning watch, and struck and killed the Ammonites until the heat of the day. And those who survived scattered, so that no 2 of them were left together. Then the people said unto Samuel, "Who is he that said, Shall Saul reign over us? Bring them in, so that we may put them to death." But Saul said, "Not a single person shall be put to death this day. For the Lord, for today the Lord has brought about victory in Israel." Then Samuel said to the people, "Come and let us go to Gilgal and renew the kingdom there." So all the people went to Gilgal, and there they made Saul king before the Lord in Gilgal. There they also offered sacrifices of peace offerings before the Lord. And there Saul and all men of Israel rejoiced greatly. So here Saul defeats. Hold on. Yeah, so Saul defeats basically the Ammonites. He helps them defeat the Ammonites, and there they anoint him king. All right. Now we're going to skip to chapter 15. And if you want to talk a minute, I'm going to go grab a bottle of water because I'm about to.
Yeah, I'm doing one.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is very interesting. It really gets into not listening to God, not following His way. And here Samuel's trying to, he's trying to listen to the words of God. God's talking to him, and he's trying to tell people, this is what we should be doing. In today's life, even in church this morning, we were talking about this, and not about David and Goliath, but we were talking about a lot of times we want what the body wants. And sometimes what we want gets in the way of what God wants. And we have to be very careful about that. We get tied up in this stuff, and we get way off track.
Absolutely. And it's easy to do.
Very easy. Very easy. We were talking about, like I said, we were talking about that in church this morning again. And we had a wonderful service this morning. But we, yeah. I don't want to get too far ahead here.
So now, you going to say something?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So now we're in chapter 15. And this is going to be where Saul disobeys God.
Disobedience. Well, we never disobey anybody, do we?
This one really comes back to bite him.
Oh, it comes back to bite him, all right.
Then Samuel said to Saul, the Lord sent. I'm having such a hard time. Doing all of this talking really makes my mouth so dry.
Oh, it does. It does me. I don't know how these people talk all the time, do it.
I know. Then Samuel said to Saul, the Lord sent me to anoint you as king over his people. All right. Over Israel. Now therefore listen to the words of the Lord. This is what the Lord of armies says. I will punish Amalek for what he did to Israel, in that he obstructed him on the way while he was coming up from Egypt. Now go and strike Amalek and completely destroy everything that he has, and do not spare him, but put to death both man and woman, child and infant, ox and sheep, camel and donkey.
Mm-hmm. Now let's think about that just a minute.
Mm-hmm.
When God said, He said, go in and destroy everything. Now, as a human,
It'd be tough.
It'd be tough. It really would, because we have talked about this before. We've got a friend that is in the military. Well, actually, several friends. Corey's got a really good friend from high school that he's known for years and years that's in the military now. And I've got a friend that's been in the military for, I don't know, 20-some years, going 25, 26, 27 years. And to go into like Iraq or Palestine or anywhere like this, and to have to watch and make the decision just to kill one child or one woman because they are such a threat. And here God tells them, go in and kill everything. All the men, the women, the children.
The animals.
The animals. And why? Because you could take the animals and use them for your own flocks, or you could use them to work your own fields. You could use them for whatever, but God says, no, destroy it all.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to get down and why? Why? Why does God? There's a few times that God told people to wipe out the entire nation, the entire city or whatever. And you have to wonder why. Why would God tell you to wipe out every living being, even the children, even down to newborns? Why? But the Bible plainly tells us why He tells us to do that. And as much as I hate to say it, even today, if we're going to get, this is just me talking, if we're going to get freedom in some places, you almost have to wipe it all out because even very, very small children are taught to hate. And once it's taught into them, it's hard to change it. But anyway, I'm getting off the subject. But here, I just wanted to make that comment about that, the realization of when he says destroy everything, what that means. He don't even want to leave the flocks, or I mean the crops, not the flock, the crops. Why destroy the crops? And the oxen and the sheep, the camels, and mine says the asses, but the donkeys.
My Bible's a little more politically correct.
It will, probably so. But anyway, I just wanted to stop right there and just make sure everybody understands when he says everything, that's everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, you can carry on.
All right, we're in verse 4. Then Saul summoned the people and counted them in Telaim, 200,000 foot soldiers and 10,000 men of Judah. And Saul came to the city of Amalek and set an ambush in the Wadi. Now, my Bible says that that's just a fancy word for a valley.
Valley? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So he set an ambush in the valley.
okay. Set an ambush up in the valley.
But Saul said to the Kenites, Go, get away. Go down from among the Amalekites, so that I do not destroy you along with them. For you showed kindness to all the sons of Israel when they went up from Egypt. So the Kenites got away from among the Amalekites. Then Saul defeated the Amalekites from Havilah, going towards Shur, which is east of Egypt. He captured Agag, the king of the Amalekites.
Yeah, something like that.
Amalekites.
That word.
I'm not all here today. He captured Agag, king of the Amalekites, alive, and completely destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. But Saul and the people spared Agag, and the best of the sheep, the oxen, the more valuable animals, the lambs, and everything that was good, and were unwilling to destroy them completely, but everything despicable and weak that they completely destroyed.
Now,
So
we're already getting disobedience here.
they directly disobeyed direct orders.
Direct orders.
So they killed everyone except for Agag the king and the best of the sheep, oxen, and the most valuable animals, the lambs, and everything that was good, and they were unwilling to destroy them completely. So,
and I even though that, that's disobedience to God. I can kind of in my heart understand why they would want to do that.
oh yeah, absolutely.
But it's there again. It's not doing what God told them to do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
All right. So now we're on verse 10. Then the word of the Lord came to Samuel, saying, I regret that I have made Saul king, because he has turned his back from following me and has not carried out my commands.
But they wanted him for king.
Yeah, but no, this is God telling Samuel.
Yeah.
The word of the Lord came to Samuel.
Yeah.
Saying, I regret that I have made Saul king, because he has turned his back from following me and has not carried out my commands. And Samuel was furious and cried out to the Lord all night. Samuel got up early in the morning to meet Saul, and it was reported to Samuel, saying, Saul came to Carmel, and behold, he set up a monument for himself, and then turned to proceed down to Gilgal. That sounds a lot like he was trying to make himself a god among the Israelites.
Patting himself on the back.
Yeah. So Samuel came to Saul, and Saul said to him, Blessed are you of the Lord. I have carried out the command of the Lord. But Samuel said, What then is this bleating of the sheep in my ears, and the bellowing of the oxen which I hear? Saul said, They have brought them from the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and your oxen to sacrifice to the Lord your God. But the rest we have completely destroyed. Then Samuel said to Saul, Stop, and let me inform you of what the Lord said to me last night. And he said to him, Speak. So Samuel said, Is it not true, though you were insignificant in your own eyes, that you became the head of the tribes of Israel? For the Lord anointed you as king over Israel, and the Lord sent you on a mission and said, Go and completely destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they were eliminated. Why then did you not obey the voice of the Lord? Instead, you loudly rushed upon the spoils and did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. Then Saul said to Samuel, I did obey the voice of the Lord, for I went on the mission on which the Lord sent me, and I have brought Agag, the king of Amalek, and have completely destroyed the Amalekites. But the people took some of the spoils, sheep and oxen, the choicest of things designated for the destruction, to sacrifice to the Lord your God at Gilgal. Samuel said, Does the Lord have as much delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than a sacrifice, and to pay attention is better than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as reprehensible as the sin of divination, and insubordination as reprehensible as false religion and idolatry. Since you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has also rejected you from being king. Yeah. Then Saul said to Samuel, I have sinned, for I have violated the command of the Lord and your words, because I feared the people and listened to their voice. Now please pardon my sin and return with me so that I may worship the Lord. But Samuel said to Saul, I will not return with you, for you have rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord has rejected you from being king over Israel. Then Samuel turned to go, but Saul grasped the edge of his robe and tore it off. So Samuel said to him, The Lord has torn the kingdom of Israel from you today, and has given it to your neighbor, who is better than you. Also the glory of Israel will not lie nor change his mind, for he is not a man that he would change his mind. Then Saul said, I have sinned, but please honor me now before the elders of my people and before all of Israel, and go back with me, so that I may worship the Lord your God. So Samuel went back following Saul, and Saul worshiped the Lord. So Saul is kind of getting his butt whooped.
He's getting his tail whooped. He's getting embarrassed here.
And he
didn't follow command.
Not only did he disobey what God told him to do, he also tried to lie about it. So saying that they brought these things back to give as a sacrifice, and then that's when Samuel says, Does the Lord have as much delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord?
No.
So does God enjoy burnt sacrifices as much as he enjoys you listening and obeying his word? Absolutely not.
No. I would much rather you listen and
Yeah, I'm glad it's not just me.
God would much rather you obey him and him not have to punish you.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a mom and dad with a child. You don't want to punish your child, but sometimes we have to in order to get them to do the right thing, to get them to listen, to pay attention. So, but yeah, he was sort of having his tail handed back to him on this one.
Mm-hmm.
And he was ashamed. He listened to his men uh, instead of listening to God. He was more in what's the word, pleasing his men,
Mm-hmm.
and then he was pleasing God.
Yeah.
Because he should have stood up to the men and said, "No, this is not what our God said to do."
He was. Where is it? It says in here.
But we as proud humans, we want that recognition. Hey, I let you do this. I gave you this. And, we don't give nobody nothing that God didn't give us first.
Exactly. Yeah, it says. Yeah, Saul even said it right here. It says, "Then Saul said to Samuel, I have sinned, for I have violated the command of the Lord and your words, because I feared the people and listened to their voice." Um, so yeah, he was trying to. There was probably some uproar in the armies of the men, and
Yeah.
because it sounds like a crazy thing.
Because in all honesty, I mean,
But
if you take out the main ones, the threats, why can't we take you up Christian?
right, but it does. It sounds crazy, but I think this is one of those times that uh, God tells him to do something crazy just because he wants him to obey him.
He's checking your obedience. Are you willing, even though it may put you in a dangerous position? God will take care of it.
Right. Obviously, there were other reasons. I don't think that God's gonna you know say, "Hey, let's destroy this whole city of everything," if there's not a reason
No,
to
there
do
had to
that.
be a good reason God wanted it done.
But also, I think it was just you know he was there,
Right.
and this was um, a good test of his.
It's a good taste. Of his obedience,
Yeah.
his loyalty.
So now this next 33 through the end of 15, I think is, or 32 through the end of 15, I think is one of my favorite. This is my favorite part of the story, just because of the image that it puts in my mind, the image that I see when I read this. So let's read it, and then I'll go through what I see when I read it. All right. Then Samuel said, "Bring me Agag, the king of the Amalekites." And Agag came to him cheerfully. And Agag said, "Surely the bitterness of death is gone." But Samuel said, "As your sword has made women childless, so shall your mother be childless among women." And Samuel cut Agag to pieces before the Lord at Gilgal. Then Samuel went up to Ramah, but Saul went up to his house at Gibeah of Saul. And Samuel did not see Saul again until the day of his death, though Samuel mourned for Saul, and the Lord regretted that he had made Saul king over Israel. So, here is Saul, or Samuel, who comes up. Here's Samuel is not young at this time. Here's Saul, the king of Israel, right? and as far as anybody knows, and you've got all of these men, your armies, and it said, and I don't remember, 300,000,
Yeah, I think it's 300,000.
and that's a lot of men.
That's a lot of men.
So here you have Samuel and Saul up here, and in front of 300,000 men that have just defeated this entire city, took over this entire city and destroyed it. And Samuel calls the king, calls the king of this city up here, and the king says, "Surely you're not going to kill me."
No, sure, you done took my everything. Yeah, it's gonna kill me.
And Samuel basically says, "Think again," and cuts him to pieces.
Yeah.
I don't know. That makes me chuckle. This old man up in front of these 300,000 men, shaming the king of Israel, and cutting up the king of the Amalekites. So basically, Saul did not follow. He didn't obey God because he was scared of his men, and because of that, he was no longer the king of Israel. So God took the kingship away from him. And we've been going 42 minutes and we've not even said David.
We've not even got to David yet.
But we're getting there because next, God sends Samuel to find David. Now the Lord, in chapter 16, now the Lord said to Samuel, "How long are you going to mourn for Saul, since I have rejected him from being king over Israel? Fill your horn with oil and go. I will send you to Jesse the Bethlehemite, because I have chosen a king for myself among his sons." But Samuel said, "How can I go? When Saul hears about it, he will kill me." But the Lord said, "Take a heifer with you and say, I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. And you shall invite Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will let you know what you shall do. And you shall anoint for me the one whom I designate to you." So Samuel did what the Lord told him, and he came to Bethlehem. Then the elders of the city came trembling to meet him and said, "Do you come in peace?" And he said, "In peace. I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Consecrate yourselves and come with me to the sacrifice." He also consecrated Jesse and his sons and invited them to the sacrifice. When they entered, he looked at Eliab and thought, "Surely the Lord's anointed is standing before him." Here we go. But the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not look at his appearance or at the height of his stature, because I have rejected him." Excuse me. "For God does not see as man sees, since man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart."
Amen.
Yeah, and that's one of the most beautiful truths about our God.
Oh, that's one of my favorite parts. And not the story, but one of my favorite things about God. He could care less what you look like outside.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't care less. I mean, I'm not enticing to go get yourself tattooed and pierced and all this kind of stuff, but God don't care what you look like. God cares about what you got here.
That's right.
It's amazing to me, and here, I mean, we're so quick to judge people as soon as we see them. And I have tried really, really, really hard in my life, especially in the last 10 years, to not judge people. And I'm telling you, we did a thing on this in youth class, and we spent weeks and weeks on what it meant to judge, and it goes so deep,
And
not just. Go ahead.
and I'm gonna say something that's probably gonna might make some people mad at me, but it's the truth. Um, and that is that a lot of times as Christians we are the absolute worst at this.
Absolutely.
Um,
Because as a Christian, a lot of times I think some think they're better than others.
yeah,
And I think, and we're getting off track here, but I think that's got a lot to
there is
do,
no track.
a lot of trouble with the organized church. Uh, we have experienced in several churches we've been in that, and I'm going to make people mad here, but it's true. You have certain families with certain names that think they have to rule everything in the church. And I'm sorry, it's not their church. It's not your church. It's God's church. And it's up to God's people.
If you're there to do anything other than spread the word of God and worship God
And love people.
and love people, then
That is the number one thing.
you might be there for the wrong reason.
If you don't get that out of the Bible, you need to get back in the Word. You need to get on your knees. The entire thing of God is love. Love each other. Don't talk about each other and don't judge each other, but love each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing I love about the little church we're in right now. And it's we do call it church, but it's home church. We don't care. We don't care. You come to church in your sandals and your pajamas. We don't care. Come with your hair in curlers. We don't care.
I gotta dress just like I am.
Yeah, really.
Right now, I mean, I usually put pants on, but
But they don't care. It's not what you look like. It's what you bring in your heart. And we love on people. And Lord knows our little bitty church. And Corey didn't get to go this morning for
because I slept in.
but
Don't lie.
I wouldn't go say that.
I slept through my alarm. All three of them.
But he overslept. But last week, let me give you just a little story on this. And I know we're getting off of this, but I think this is something important. We got off of, back at Jack. We've got one of the young ladies in our church has got a friend that had to make a very, very, very hard decision a couple of weeks ago. The young lady is 19 years old, and she was the only family member to make a decision to take her dad off of life support. And I'm going to ask you to pray for this young lady now. I don't know the whole story. All I know is that she is the only heir, to make decisions for her dad, and she is now on her own. He did pass. We prayed for her last Sunday, and we knew that things were going to be hard for her because she had to be out of work and all this with her dad, that she had to make this decision, and then she had to make all the arrangements by herself to have him buried. And I'm sorry, I don't care who you are, that takes a toll on you, and especially at 19 years old. And she's having to take care of all the finances. We took up a little love offering for her last week. And I don't know exactly what the number was, but when I went to drop my money in the basket, our little bitty gathering, and what would you say our numbers are? Maybe 15?
Yeah, 10, 15 people.
15. If we hit 20, that would be max. I mean, we run a real big church. But when I walked, she just put the basket down and said, if anybody wants to give a little something to help this young lady out. And when I walked by to drop my money into the basket, there were numerous 20s, and I've seen $100 bills in there. And they said that when this young lady at church took the money to her and a card that we had signed for her, she said that she just broke down. And she said, I can't take this. She said, I'm not a taker. I'm a giver. And but after she broke down and after she explained to her what we were doing and that we were doing and for the love of God, God told us and God touched our hearts to give this to her. Said she just broke down again. Said she could not believe that people that did not even know her would love her enough to try to help her out financially and supporting her and praying for her. So this is what God is all about. This is what we are supposed to be all about. We're all about helping each other. We're to be there for each other, to support each other.
Our strength comes from each other.
Our strength, exactly. Our strength comes from each other. We were talking about this morning how we get into the valleys, but yet we shouldn't be angry. We shouldn't be depressed. A lot of people get depressed when they get into the valleys. In fact, I told her it was really weird. I went with my oldest son yesterday to pick up a piece of equipment for his tractor, and we stopped at a neighborhood store down here. And as I walked in the front door, their back door is straight across, and two of the people that work there were out back taking a break, and I just made a beeline straight to the back. And this is something I never do. I never do that. I might speak, holler, but I never just do something like that. But I made a straight beeline straight to the back door and went outside and got talking to them. And it didn't take but a minute, and we were already talking about God, how his blessings would take us through the valleys. And even though we might be in a valley, we may be out of a job, we may be taxes. I mean, that's something that gets people hard, gets you depressed and all these things. And we have to keep our heads up and say, all these things that are trying to bring us down is not of God. But God will bring us out of these. And we just have to have the faith and the strength and keep our morale up and be joyful to God, even through the valleys, because he's already got a plan. We might not know what the plan is, but he's already got the plan. All we got to do is just follow God.
That's it.
And this is pretty much what's going on here. Obedience. Following God. So anyway, I'll shut up and let you get back into this.
No, you're good.
But I thought that was just a great time at church this morning, talking about these things. And this young lady that we helped out and the tears that we shed this morning because of the joy that she sent back to us for being so grateful. But a 19-year-old girl that she didn't want to accept the money. She wanted to do it herself. She was a giver. And trust me, I know what that means because I've been a giver all my life. I never wanted anybody to give me nothing. I always wanted to give to other people. And I never wanted anybody to help me. I always wanted to help other people. But in the last 2 years, I hurt my back a couple years ago, and I've had to swallow a little bit of my pride, and I've had to accept a little bit of help from people. So sometimes it's hard to do, and she's having to face that early in life. But anyway, back to David.
So I'm gonna kind of just paraphrase this because basically this is a lot of text that says basically Samuel saw all of Jesse's sons that he had brought and basically said, none of these sons is the son that was chosen by God.
If I understood it right, there were 3 elder sons that had gone to war with the
right.
They were in amongst battle.
Yeah.
And so 3 sons there, and David, that made 4. And I'm not sure there weren't 3 other sons.
There may have been.
I don't remember.
But he basically says, "Are these all of your sons?" And he says, "Well, the youngest is still out attending to the sheep."
Right.
And Samuel basically says, "Well, get him over here,
because
we're not going to start this until he's here."
Right.
And so David was kind of an afterthought, even to his father.
Right, to his father. He never thought of him to go into battle.
Right.
Much less this battle that we're fixing to go into, and we're going to describe the one man.
This actually describes what David looked like. It says he was reddish, with beautiful eyes and a handsome appearance.
Yeah, this don't go into that much detail. It just
Yeah.
says it was a very handsome man.
Right. Let's see. We're just going to skip
Or
around.
very handsome young child. Actually. Youth is that way they describe you.
I would highly recommend everybody reading this, but I'm just going to kind of skip around and hit the points. Let's see. And the Lord said, "Arise, anoint him, for this is he." So God was telling Samuel, this is him. This is the one that I've chosen to be the future king of Israel.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, I don't.
Here with 3 very big, healthy young men that have already been in battle for a long time, according to what I've read, and they know what battle is, and they're prepared. But who do they pick? Who did God pick?
The youngest.
The youngest, the youth.
Yeah.
And he was a small statue, if I understand it right.
Yeah.
Well, I know he was because in here it tells how they prepared him.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to get too far ahead. That to me, this is amazing. Amazing.
What do you mean how they prepared him for
Uh,
battle?
they took the brass helmets
Yeah.
off
Yeah.
and put them on his head.
Which I got a little while.
I know,
a little bit.
I didn't want to get too far ahead.
Talk into.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't want to get too far ahead. But yeah, it kind of gives you an idea of David's size.
Yeah.
A little later.
Yeah, he wasn't huge.
But my thing was when God said, "This is the one I picked," what the expressions on the older brothers, and even his dad, and what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So, he has no.
They even whenever we get to Goliath,
But David tells
they actually even have a little bit of a dispute about it in here in the text.
Yeah, absolutely.
Him and his brothers. I'm going to read this part because I think it's very important. So Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brothers, and the Spirit of the Lord rushed upon David from that day forward. And Samuel set out and went to Ramah. So Samuel didn't take David back with him.
Mm.
He's still in Bethlehem at this time. But if we go over to let's see. Oh, well, 14. Now the Spirit of the Lord left Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord terrified him. Saul's servants then said to him, "Behold, now an evil spirit from God is terrifying you. May our Lord now command your servants who are before you, have them search for a man who is a skillful musician on the harp. And it shall come about, whenever the evil spirit from God is upon you, that he shall play the harp with his hand, and you will become well." So Saul basically tells his servants, "Hey, go find this person that's good at playing the harp." And it just so happens that it's David. So David basically becomes Saul's right-hand man. And he comes to Saul and lives in the city for days, and then he'll go back to the fields and take care of the sheep for his father for a few days or whatever. Like I said, read it, but I'm just going to kind of paraphrase because there's a lot in there that is not really pertinent. Right.
Mm-mm.
Um, let's see.
But all of this is leading up to the preparation of it. Basically teaching obedience and what God can do, if you will.
Yeah.
If you'll be obedient.
So now we're going into where Israel is, they're at war with the Philistines. And let's see. Where's it at? So, verse 3, the Philistines were standing on the mountain on one side, while Israel was standing on the mountain on the other side, with the valley between them. Then a champion came forward from the army encampment of the Philistines named Goliath from Gath. His height was 6 cubits and a span. He had a bronze helmet on his head, and he wore scale armor which weighed 5,000 shekels of bronze. He also had bronze greaves on his legs and a bronze saber slung between his shoulders. The shaft of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and the head of his spear weighed 600 shekels of iron, and his shield carrier walked in front of him. All right, so there's a lot there we need to talk about.
That's a lot to take in right there. A lot to take in.
So the Philistines marched on Israel to the valley of Elah, right? Right. Where they were on one side of the mountain and the Philistines were standing on the other side, with the valley of Elah between them. So these Philistines, they marched there. I'm sure it was miles. It was a lot. It had to have been a pretty good, walk or
Pretty
march, good journey. That's the word I was looking for. So imagine that you're on the side of the mountain, and on the other side of the mountain is the army that you're about to be fighting, and they're marching down, and among them is this man that stands 6 cubits and a span tall. Now, how tall is that? That's about 9'10".
9'10".
And now, while it's not, it's uncommon, but it's not unheard of to have people that are that tall today. Maybe not quite
Not
that tall.
that tall that I'm aware of, but
But-
in my lifetime, I have seen people as much as 7 feet.
Right.
In fact, today, honest to goodness, actually, within the last hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, I talked to a guy right down here at the store. If he wasn't 7 foot, he was right there on it. I mean, this man, I stood there like this talking to him. This man was probably the tallest I've seen around here, and
Yeah.
I could not tell you how long.
But there's tall people around, but once you get so tall, once you get over 7 foot, say, really it comes with a lot of medical issues.
A lot of medical issues, yeah.
And
Even if you look
these
like Andre the Giant and people like that, and a lot of people, I'm still not talking to Mike, but a lot of people right here probably have seen wrestling with Andre the Giant and
right.
Some of these other giants they've had on there. But if you look at them, they move slow.
Right. And you have to look at Andre especially, and I'm sure all of these others are the same way. They may deal with it in a different way, but I know Andre the Giant, he was a drunk because it hurt,
the pains,
it hurt so
Yeah.
bad. His joints hurt.
To help cover some of his pains. And most most people that are really big like that do. Even this guy down here, I was
Yeah.
talking to him, and as he was moving around, and he told me a while ago, he just told me, he said he was, I think he said 30, no, not 30, like 42 years old. And he was fixing to have his first grandchild. But I was watching him as he was trying to move around, and you could tell he was in pain. Everything was awkward, even just to walk. He was kind of awkward. And I'm not trying to say anything bad about him. It's just reality. Um, so
But and then so with the height, you usually have a lot of health problems,
Mhm.
and you're usually most are not as they might be strong, but they're not maybe as strong as they should be at that size,
at that
at that
size, yeah,
height.
you would think, right? You would think at that height, at that size, that they would just be mighty. I mean,
Right. But that was not Goliath. Goliath was he was a big man
he was very healthy.
and strong
Very-
because at 6 foot at at 9 foot 10 inches thereabouts. He had a bronze helmet on his head, and he wore scale armor which weighed 5,000 shekels of bronze. So
5,000 shekels.
So I looked this up, and 5,000 shekels is thereabouts 150 pounds, which doesn't sound like much, but go grab 150 pounds and march for a couple of miles.
Yeah, go grab 2 bags of chicken feed, 50-pound bags, and throw them over your shoulder and walk for miles.
And then
I used to could younger.
the shaft of
Not
his
far.
spear was like a weaver's beam. Let's see. Hold on. I just lost my place. A weaver's beam. Okay. What is a weaver's beam?
This one says a bronze chest plate.
Yeah. What is
Scale armor.
what is a weaver's beam? This feels like something.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I should have
What
looked
is a
this up
weaver's beam?
before we did this, but I don't. I'm assuming it's a large beam. And then so the shaft of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and the head of his spear weighed 600 shekels of iron. Now, 600 shekels of iron is like 15 pounds.
Okay, so the spear head itself is 15 pounds.
That's a lot.
That's just the head of the spear, not the
Yeah.
not the shaft of it, just the head.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It
Yeah.
doesn't sound like a lot,
Yeah,
but
put 15 feet on,
put
or
15 pounds on the end of
a
the stick.
yeah, on the end of about a 10
And
foot
carry
stick
it
and
around.
Carry it around. Yeah.
Yeah, that's and that's one thing that as a child, you know, I didn't even know that it told us how tall Goliath was, much less the weight of his armor. And that, knowing how tall he was and how much his armor weighed, that puts things into a whole different perspective. So yeah, he was a big guy. So imagine seeing this man on the opposing army coming down, and you're fixing to fight.
This big man with all that armor on him, and he was a mighty soldier.
Mm-hmm.
He killed hundreds of thousands of people.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't want to fight him with no.
No. So in verse 8, he stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel and said to them, this is talking about Goliath, or this is Goliath saying this, why do you come out and draw up in battle formation? Am I not the Philistine and you the servants of Saul? Stop the recording. Oops. Whoops, I accidentally stopped the recording. Why do you come out to draw up in battle formation? Am I not the Philistine and you the servants of Saul? Choose a man as your representative and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight me and kill me, then we will become your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then you shall become our servants and serve us." Then the Philistines said, "I have defied the ranks of Israel this day. Give me a man so that we may fight together." When Saul and all Israel heard these words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and very fearful.
Can you imagine any of those men thinking that they might be chosen to go against this guy?
Yeah. And I'm sure that Israel had their champions of war as well.
Oh, absolutely.
But they weren't 9'10" and wearing 150-pound armor.
Mm-mm. Now, I've got my marker there, so I'm gonna set it down. If you go back and you look at some of this armor that they would have worn back then, this chest plate covered everything. I mean, it covered the entire chest, shoulders, and arms. The helmet made of bronze would come down in front of the face, and very, very small amount of the face actually exposed. So the head, the cheeks, the jaw, everything is covered and protected.
Well, now
this man is he's got armor on.
It says that he wore a bronze helmet on his head,
Mm-hmm.
and he wore scale armor, which is going to be like a
Scale on
chain,
it, like wooden chains.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. That would cover, yes, to prevent any serious damage. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm getting at is he's got very small amount of bare flesh to fight against.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I just want to throw that in there because I did research that. It's been many, many years ago about what the armor really was.
Yeah. So and I just said that David was in Israel for a few days, and then he would go back to tend to the flocks, and then he would come back. He kind of traveled back and forth. So David is not even in Israel at this time. In fact, in verse 20, David got up early in the morning and left the flock with a keeper and took the supplies and went as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the entrenchment encircling the camp while the army was going out in battle formation and shouting the war cry. So he makes it to Israel as they are starting to get into battle formation. They're fixing to fight. And he entered and greeted his brothers. As he was speaking with them, behold, the champion, the Philistine from Gath, named Goliath, was coming up from the army of the Philistines, and he spoke the same words. And David heard him. So David was there whenever Goliath issued his challenge. And then there's a lot of arguing with his older brothers, and arguing about the riches that the person that defeats Goliath will get.
I was saying all ago about the brothers here. I just found it. It says that Jesse had 8 sons.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the age difference probably between the oldest 3, which it talks about in here, and David being the youngest. So it's a pretty good age span between them. So David had a lot less experience than him. But there again, and this will go into some of the things that David says to defend himself. So there again, I'm trying to get too far ahead of myself.
So, and basically, David is saying, I'm gonna defeat Goliath, and then Saul hears of this and calls for him, and in verse 32, David said to Saul, "May no one's heart fail on account of him. Your servant will go and fight this Philistine." But Saul said to David, "You are not able to go against this Philistine and fight him, for you are only a youth, while he has been a warrior since his youth." But David said to Saul, "Your servant was tending his father's sheep when a lion or bear came and took the sheep from the flock. I went out after it and attacked it and rescued the sheep from its mouth." So this seems kind of silly, because Saul is saying, "No, you're not doing this. He's going to destroy you if you try." And David is saying, "I'm the one. I'm the one that."
Can you? I mean, come on. If you've had kids, they're fearless. They can do it all. They don't fear nothing. Oh, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. And here, this youth, I can kill this mighty warrior, this mighty soldier, this giant of a man. I can kill him. I can take him.
Yeah, it seems
sit down, child, and take
it seems silly, but then you get to verse 37, and David said, "The Lord who saved me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear, he will save me from the hand of this Philistine." So Saul, who has had he knows what happens when you disobey God.
Disobey God.
Yeah. Saul says to David, "Go and may the Lord be with you."
How do you fight that?
Saul said, "I know how this ends."
Yeah. If you're following the word of God and you're following his leadership, don't let me get in there.
Yeah.
Saul says,
"I don't want any part of that."
No, I didn't see that trail. I don't want no part of it. So, but if you got God on your side, you go on. You got it.
Yeah.
But David had that faith, though.
Yeah.
David had that faith. He knew. He said, "God told me to go do this. I can do it," and he wasn't worried about it.
That's right.
He didn't have no fear. He wasn't worried. He wasn't no concerns. David ready to go.
Yeah.
God told me to do this. I'm gonna go do it. Okay.
Let's see. And then Saul clothed David with his military attire and put bronze helmet on his head and outfitted him with armor. And David strapped the sword over strapped on his sword over his military attire and struggled at walking, for he had not trained with the armor. So David said to Saul, "I cannot go with these because I have not trained with them." And David took them off.
I don't want this mess. I don't want it's hindering me. I don't need it.
So he's going out there in nothing, probably something like a road.
If you've ever been in the military, you kind of understand. You put that pot on your head, what they call it, and then you put on that full pack. I mean, your backpack and your full clothing and everything, and then you go out and you travel 20, 25 miles with that pack on your back and this thing on your head feels like it's going to break your neck. And you kind of get an idea of what David was feeling. I mean, this is the first time he ever put this stuff on. He was just a youth, I think, somewhere in here. I think it calculates he's around 13 years old, 13, 14. And he didn't want no part of that. That's just holding him down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's heavy. But that kind of, I don't want to say blesses my heart, but it excites my heart. David's like, "I don't need that mess. You're just slowing me down."
And then he took his staff in his hand and chose for himself 5 smooth stones from the brook and put them in the shepherd's bag which he had, that is in his shepherd's pouch. And his sling was in his hand, and he approached the Philistine.
With nothing but a sword and 5 stones.
He's probably wearing something like a robe, and he's got 5 smooth stones, a staff.
And he can fight this big guy. And
his sling, and he does have a sword. But it is not drawn. It is sheathed on his
side. Sheathed on his back side, where it was. I don't remember now. But yeah, he didn't have the sword out.
Then the Philistine came and approached David, with the shield bearer in front of him. When the Philistine looked and saw David, he was contemptuous of him, for he was only a youth and reddish with a handsome appearance. So the Philistine said to David, "Am I a dog, that you will come with me with sticks?" And the Philistine cursed David by his gods.
Mm.
And we know that who were their gods? Demons, the devils.
Mm-hmm.
The Philistine also said to David, "Come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the sky and the wild animals." But David said to the Philistine, "You come to me with a sword, a spear, and a saber, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of armies, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will hand you over to me, and I will strike you and remove your head from you. Then I will give the dead bodies of the army of the Philistines this day to the birds of the sky and the wild animals of the earth, so that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel, and that this entire assembly may know that the Lord does not save by a sword or spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will hand you over to us." Can you imagine what Goliath was thinking?
Big guy. This little bitty boy with nothing but a spear.
He was probably laughing at him.
Oh, he was laughing his head off. They ain't no doubt, making fun of him. They said he was cursing him.
Yeah.
And this is what you sent to fight me. This little youth is what you sent to fight me. Now, you understand, if I beat this youth, you are my slaves. And I'm just wondering what some of the soldiers, even his brothers,
the Israelites.
Oh,
yeah,
Lord, we're fixing to become slaves. We're fixing to be taken.
Verse 48, and then it happened, when the Philistine came closer to meet David, that David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand into his bag and took from it a stone and slung it and struck the Philistine on his forehead. And the stone penetrated his forehead, and he fell on his face to the ground. So David prevailed over the Philistine with the sling and the stone. He struck the Philistine and killed him, and there was no sword in David's hand. Then David ran and stood over the Philistine and took his sword and drew it out of his sheath and finished him and cut off his head with it. When the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they fled. Then the men of Israel and Judah rose up and shouted, and they pursued the Philistines as far as the valley and to the gates of Ekron. And the Philistine dead lay along the way to the Sharon, even to Gath and Ekron. Then the sons of Israel returned from their close pursuit of the Philistines and plundered their camps. And David took the Philistine's head and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his weapon in his tent. Now when Saul had seen David going out against the Philistine, he said to Abner, the commander of the army, "Abner, whose son is this young man?" And Abner said, "By your life, O king, I do not know." And the king said, "You then ask whose son the youth is." So when David returned from killing the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul with the Philistine's head in his hand. And Saul said to him, "Whose son are you, young man?" And David answered, "I am the son of your servant Jesse the Bethlehemite." And I think that's where we're going to stop as far as reading.
Yeah.
Because if you've never read Samuel and the story of David, it's a good one. I highly recommend it to you. Maybe we can go through some of it. There's a plot to murder David. He had an eventful life. I will say that.
Very eventful.
But
It just, I don't know. if like I say, when you go back and you get the whole story, and I hope y'all have stuck around for the end of this, because
We
this is a very good lesson in life, as far as obedience to God. And this young man, I mean, he was on fire for God. He trusted God. He knew God had his life in his hands. And he didn't just walk out there and shake and tremble at the sight of Goliath. No, it says he run to the battle line to meet this giant. Never drew his sword, but took his, we call it slingshot. But if you get into it, you find out a little more about what it is.
It's not really a slingshot.
No, a lot of people
It's a
call it
sling.
slingshot, but it's not. It's a sling. That's what it's called. I've never made one, but I've always wanted to make one and just see what it would take.
Go online and look at these people using these slings for like target practice and stuff.
Right.
It is insane.
It's insane. Yeah. Yeah. The power behind it
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
You would never think.
No, not out of a piece of cloth.
Yeah.
Or probably leather actually.
Yeah.
But he run to this giant.
Yeah.
With no fear. He knew God had his back.
All of these the army of Israel is scared to death. And here's this little boy that is running towards this 9'10" man.
Yeah.
Battle hardened man.
And I think if you go further into it, it actually tells even the three older brothers were offered the chance to stand before Goliath, and they turned it down. They said, "No, this man is too mighty." But little David, he said, "Hey, I got God on my side. I ain't scared of him."
He said, "I'm the one that went after the bear,
Yeah,
the lion."
yeah. He said, "I fought bear. I fought lions. I have taken sheep, the baby sheep from the lion's mouth."
And Saul is sitting here thinking, "You stupid, stupid little boy."
But never underestimate the power of God.
Yeah.
No matter how small the vessel.
Yeah.
But yeah, he took that giant down.
Yep.
Took that giant down.
That's it.
But
It's amazing what we can do by faith alone.
Yeah. Got to have that faith in God. Yeah. You got to know that He's got your back.
That's it.
And I'll tell you what, life is so much happier. You think you find happiness in the bottom of a bottle or through a pill or a needle?
You might find
it's temporary happiness.
Temporary happiness.
Temporary.
Yeah. You can find eternal happiness within the covers of this book right here.
Or as I like to refer to it, is temporary happiness to disaster.
Or you can find your way to eternal happiness within the covers of this book right here.
Absolutely. But anyway, if you guys have any questions on this, follow the links. We'd love to answer your questions. If you have any concerns, if you have any prayer requests, that's what we're here for. We're just here trying to help people. We don't know it all.
Yeah,
I absolutely don't know it all.
I literally had something completely different in mind. In fact, I had gone through and I had actually told my dad, I said, I think we're going to do the story of Solomon and Saul. Because I think that that's a good lesson on, obeying God.
Obedience.
And this was a long time, way before we even did the first episode. And then I had something else, and then something came up on my YouTube, and I watched a little short, like 5-minute video about David and Goliath, and I was like, you know what? I want to read more into that.
Yeah.
And I got to reading into it, and then it's like, okay, well, I didn't realize that these two stories, this story of Saul and Solomon and David and Goliath, were
all linked together. Yeah, it's all linked together. And like I said, I have to apologize to a lot of kids through life because I never realized this either.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the two linked together.
and I realized that, and then it's like, well, God put the right idea in my mind to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
to do the story of Saul.
Right, right.
I just didn't connect. I didn't do the studying that I should have done, and figure out. Oh, hey, this is the story of the origin of David and Goliath.
Right. Where it all started from at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Because you'd have never known that Solomon or Saul would have said, "Okay, if God told you to do it," because trust me, I already went down that other road. It ain't no fun.
That's tough for me. I get Saul and Solomon.
I do. I get them confused.
Confused, yeah.
But
yeah, Saul was the king.
Right.
Solomon is the man that the book is written.
Right. But say, I've already been down that road and I went the other way, and at that fork in the road, I chose to go the other way. So if you're going that way, I can't argue with you.
Yeah, do what you got to do. I don't want anything to do with it.
Because I tell you, I done took that other path. It don't work.
Yeah.
So, but that was kind of, I don't know. I kind of see things as funny because when you can look back on stuff, you can laugh at it.
Yeah.
Looking forward on it, it might be a little bit challenging.
But I put together that these were the same story. So the story of Saul and Solomon was just kind of the intro to David, and then I got to thinking, well, what other children's Bible stories do I not know the whole story?
Well, that's what I was going to say. If we're going to do
so
stories, which I think is great.
Yeah, I think it's good
because that's where you need to start. That's where.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, it's crazy because a lot of people hear, even if you don't grow up in a religious household, a lot of people hear these children's
stories. Yeah.
And
people tell them it's inspirations to the kids and stuff, but.
And when, as Christians, we're going through and reading stuff in our Bible and studying, but we never really study these children's lessons or children's stories because we think we already know them. But in reality, we don't.
As adults, we think, well, we already know that. And that's childish.
But we don't really know the whole story.
Because we kind of look at it as that's a child's lesson. That's not for us.
Yeah.
But no, back up. God says, come to him as a child.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to back up and look at some of this children's stuff.
Yeah, and I think that this is a good idea.
I think it's a very good idea
because I learned a lot studying David and Goliath, and like I said, I would highly recommend everybody go through Solomon and
absolutely
study. Read all of that.
It is interesting. I'll say interesting.
Yeah, it really
is. Interesting.
It really is.
It's
interesting.
Interesting. Like I said, we're going back to tomatoes and tomatoes again.
Yeah.
But
so what do we want to do next?
Well, that was my question. What children's story we want to talk about next?
Yeah.
If this goes up, you might have a little bit of time, and
it probably won't be the next one, but.
Well, it don't matter. You tell us.
We will do it in the future if it gets commented.
Yeah. If you have a request, hey, this is something I'm curious about. We'll tackle it. We might not be able to give you the right answers.
We'll take it
that you're looking for, but we'll tackle it.
We'll take at least a week or so to study, and then we can give our opinions on it if we feel comfortable enough doing that.
Yeah.
A week may not be enough time to study certain things, but.
But if we get a request, we'll at least let you know that we've got requests and we're working on it.
Oh yeah. What do you think?
I don't know.
We've got Noah's Ark. We've got the Code of Many Colors.
The Code of Many Colors.
That's a good one.
Really good.
That would be a good
that would be. It really goes into depth.
We've got Jonah and the Whale.
Jonah and the Whale. Let's think with that one. Yeah, you caught me on a point. I can't think on a point. My brain don't work that way. But yeah, there's so many children's stories that we can go through. I really think the Code of Many Colors might be a really good one because it does go into depth.
We can do that. And that is a good one. That's a really good one.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not talking about the Code of Many Colors that Dolly Parton sung about either. Although it does have a good story behind it. But yeah, that might be a good.
So I don't know how long we've been recording for a very long time. But this camera
with us. God bless you.
I know this camera looks a little bit better. We've got a little bit of lighting going on. It does look a little bit better from what I can tell right now. That camera is not recording, so I don't know what happened there.
Oh, mercy.
And then we got the jack cam up there. The sound should be better.
Yeah, at least the sound system.
Except for him not talking into the mic, and probably me.
I need one that follows me. Hey, this is all new to me. I'm getting used to it. I'm working on it.
You want to talk into the side.
To the side. Okay, see? I would have figured the mic would have been stronger in the middle, in the front.
No.
But anyway, all right. Maybe I'll just take this thing to me next time. So here I go. All right. So how are we going to end this one? I said I like ending with a little prayer.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine.
Would you like to?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay. Our Father in heaven, again, we want to come to you and tell you, Lord, that we love you. As children, we never tell our Father that we love you enough. God, we love you for what you've done for us. God, you're so great to us. You're so good to us. Father, you watch after us. You take care of us. And I even talked about the valleys. And yes, sometimes we go through valleys and we want to get depressed. But Father, we know that you see the end. You know what's going on. You're taking care of it already. We want to try to fight it and battle it. And we just need to understand, Lord, you've already taken care of it. And Father, we want to pray for anybody that's watching us, watching this, that stuck it out. God bless them for listening to our fumbles and our mistakes. But Father, I want you to bless each one that has watched this and is taken apart. And Father, I pray that you encourage them to send us messages to let us know what they think and let us know what they're curious about. Help us, Lord, as we try to study and we try to go through your word. We want to tell the truth. We don't want to candy coat anything. We don't want to try to cover anything up. We want it to be 100% straight from the Bible and truth. Be with us, Lord, as we try to continue. We know that Satan always jumps on your back when you're trying to do something for you, and we know that. God, we're not young enough that we don't realize that. And Father, we pray that you just give us strength. Walk with us, Lord, hand in hand. Keep us safe to the next podcast, and bless us, Lord, in everything we do and say. In the name of Christ. Amen.
Yeah.
All
right, guys. We'll see you guys next time.